255 BC, a Roman fleet sailed home after a victory. Off the southeastern coast of Sicily, a storm caught them. The ancient historian Polybius records losses so vast, hundreds of ships, tens of thousands of men, that it still ranks as the worst maritime disaster in recorded antiquity. No enemy did this. The sea did. If Polybius is even close to right, this ranks among the largest naval losses in all of antiquity, and it happened in the middle of a war that two empires were fighting for the sea itself. Rome and Carthage spent over a century killing each other across one stretch of water. We remember the generals, Hannibal, Scipio. We remember the elephants crossing the Alps. But the thing that actually decided who lived and who vanished wasn't a general. It was the shape of the water between them. Look at the central Mediterranean. Italy reaches down like a boot. Off its toe sits Sicily, and just past Sicily, barely 90 miles of open water, sits the coast of North Africa and the city of Carthage. In the 260s BC, two powers were rising on either side of that water. Rome controlled the Italian peninsula. Carthage controlled the sea, the trade, the ports, the largest navy in the world. Between them sat Sicily. And here's the problem the map creates. Two growing powers cannot share a stepping stone that close. Sooner or later, one of them has to step on it. The First Punic War began in 264 BC over a single Sicilian city, Messina. But the real cause wasn't the city. It was the position. Whoever held Sicily held the gate between the western and eastern Mediterranean, and a launch pad pointed straight at the other side. For Rome, a Carthaginian Sicily was a knife 90 miles from Italy. For Carthage, a Roman Sicily was a bridge to Africa. The island couldn't belong to no one, and it couldn't be split. The geography left no neutral option. So Rome faced a problem it had never solved. It was a land power. Its strength was its legions. But you cannot march a legion across 90 miles of sea. To fight for Sicily, Rome had to become something it wasn't, a naval power, and it had to do it against the best navy on earth. According to the historian Polybius, Rome had no real war fleet at all. So they took a shipwrecked Carthaginian warship that had run aground, and they copied it, plank by plank. In just 60 days, a single spring, they built a fleet of more than 100 warships and trained their crews on benches on dry land before they ever touched water. It was reckless. A land empire was about to row out and challenge a sea empire on its home element. By every logic of the time, Rome should have drowned. Geography becomes a weapon. Open ocean naval warfare in this era was about ramming. Fast ships, skilled crews, slicing the side of an enemy hull. Carthage had generations of that skill. Rome had none. In open water, Rome loses. But the central Mediterranean is not open ocean. It's narrow, hemmed by islands and coasts, with short crossings and predictable places where fleets must meet. In tight water, a battle becomes a crowd. Ships jam together. And in a crowd, the question stops being who steers better. It becomes who fights better once two ships are locked side by side. That's a question Rome could answer. Their legionaries were the best close-quarters fighters in the world. So Rome built a device to force that answer. The corvus, a boarding bridge with an iron spike on the end. When a Carthaginian ship came close, the bridge dropped. The spike bit into the enemy deck, and Roman soldiers charged across. A sea battle became a land battle floating on water. It worked. At Mylae in 260 BC, Rome, the land power at sea for the first time, shattered a Carthaginian fleet, capturing around 30 ships, including the enemy commander's flagship. At Ecnomus in 256 BC, roughly 300 Roman ships against some 350 Carthaginian ones. By the sheer count of vessels and men, one of the largest naval battles in all of history, Rome won again. And then the sea took it back. Here's where an honest channel has to slow down. We don't know for certain why Rome's fleet started dying in storms, but the most compelling explanation points to the corvus itself. That heavy spiked bridge mounted near the bow would have shifted the balance of the ship, and a top-heavy ship is a ship that rolls and sinks when the weather turns. The very weapon that won the battles may be what doomed the fleets that carried it. In 255 BC, the storm that opens this video swallowed most of a fleet. It happened again off Palinurus in 253 BC, and in 249 BC, near Phintius, a storm wrecked nearly an entire Roman fleet, all but 2 ships. Across the war, storms destroyed more Roman ships than Carthage ever did. The same narrow sea that let Rome invent the corvus then drowned the fleets that carried it. After those disasters, the corvus vanishes from the record. So Rome did the only thing it could. It abandoned the corvus and learned to sail. It took 100 years to collect its payment. Because the sea wasn't done choosing. It had one more verdict to deliver. And this time, the geography that doomed an empire belonged to Carthage. Carthage's power flowed through an artificial harbor unlike anything else, a rectangular commercial port opening into a great circular military harbor, ringed with covered ship sheds that could hold a fleet out of sight and out of weather. It was Carthage's heart. Every ship, every cargo, every advantage passed through it. And that's exactly why it killed them. By the Third Punic War, beginning in 149 BC, Rome had learned the lesson the sea taught it. It didn't need to beat Carthage on open water anymore. It needed to do one thing: seal the harbor. So Scipio built a great stone mole across the harbor mouth, choking off the city from the sea that fed it. And here the Carthaginians did something extraordinary. In secret, with women and children hauling the spoil, they dug an entirely new channel to the open sea and built a last fleet from old timber, only to be defeated outside their own walls. A doorway can be shut. They tried to cut a new one. It wasn't enough. The geographic feature that made Carthage the richest city in the Western Mediterranean became the bottle Rome corked. In 146 BC, 3 years after the war began, Rome stormed the city. Carthage fell. Its people were killed or enslaved, and its harbor, the engine of an empire, was left silent. Two powers fought for over 100 years, and we hand the credit to generals. But trace it back, and the same force decides every turn. Geography put Sicily between them and forced the war. The shape of the sea handed Rome a weapon, then drowned the fleets that held it. And the harbor that built Carthage became the trap that ended it. None of this means geography acted alone. Rome also outlasted Carthage. It absorbed the loss of entire fleets and simply built more, refusing to quit when any sensible power would have. But geography set the board. It decided where the war was fought, what weapons could work there, and which city's greatest asset would become its grave. Roman stubbornness played the game. The sea chose the rules. Rome didn't simply outfight Carthage. It learned to read the sea faster than Carthage learned to survive it. The Mediterranean didn't watch this war. It chose the winner.